So you might have seen some pictures I posted recently of an alternate battery pack for the Autel X-star. I'm trying to experiment and find something that can be used in place of the battery pack that Autel provided us with our drones. Join me and I'll show you what we've learned so far with this one. All right, so the real question is, what's inside of your Autel X-star battery? Well, I myself did not know the answer to that question until I actually opened the battery pack up. So in an earlier video, I showed taking the cover off the top here to expose the battery contacts to be able to charge the battery without actually opening the battery up. So again, what you would do is you have to remove the top cover. In the charging video, we showed where the two contacts were. But the way to get into the battery pack is you have to carefully, and I mean carefully, work with the battery pack. And I use an X-Acto knife to cut or score along these lines that were glued together in the plastic. Now, again, I did not know what's inside of the battery pack, so I'm potentially concerned about cutting into a cell while I'm doing this. So again, gently scoring it. And then I did take a screwdriver between the battery pack and the case and kind of try to work it in between here to separate this and kind of get some room in there and get it to come apart. So what essentially I did is once I got it separated, I had it hinged and I could open it this way. I left the bottom still glued together so the case stayed together. But I was able to pull the board out of it and the battery out of it, which I have some pictures. I'll try to include those in the video here. So once you do that, you end up with the circuit board that's in here with the connector for the drone, and obviously the battery pack itself. So I've modified the board. I'll talk about that in a second here. But the battery pack, again, 4S battery, it's swelled, or looks like it's swelled a lot. But I tried pulling the cells apart to look at look and see if there's any kind of serial numbers, part numbers. The only thing I came across on these is there are more serial numbers, kind of like the battery serial numbers on these, but there's no additional information on the cells. So I kind of open these up and try to look on. There's no markings. Like usually you'll see on it, say like a 3.7 volt, blah, 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 some kind of milliamp. But these don't have any information on them that explain what they might be. Again, on the other side here, we can look at it. There's no markings, no indication of what the cell sizes are. I mean, on the battery, it says it's a 4900 milliamp, 14.8 volts, which if you do the math and look online to kind of convert it, you get 4 3.7 volt battery packs at 1220 milliamps each. So there are those batteries available out there in terms of the cells. I've researched a few. Actually, these white boxes in the corner over here, these are the ones that I've got. They're actually smaller than these. They're 2200 milliamps a piece, which we'll go in another video on that. But that's the next round of experimenting for this. So basically what I did, got my soldering iron out, heated up the two connection points, pulled the main points off of there, added an XT60 connector to it, so I can plug an off-the-shelf battery pack, which is what I'm kind of going for, is trying to find an off-the-shelf that would fit and work with this, so I don't have to deal with redoing all the LiPo batteries and all of my packs that need them. So the TX6 or XT60 connector, I believe it is, and then putting a balance charging lead on it. So the balance charge lead is not necessarily straightforward. I had to use my voltmeter and go back and check when it was plugged into the battery, the one by one, what the cell charges were. So it added up sequentially from one cell to the next, to the next, to the next. But there was one that was backwards, like from front to back. So I went ahead and I checked those. I soldered these all on, put the heat shrink on them, and it works. Now, the caveat is I'm not disclosing, well, actually a few things here. One is there's this little balance connector that goes from the battery to the board. And I know what they are. I found some information on them, but I have not reached out to the manufacturer to try to buy another one. So I cut this one, and this is what I use one half for the soldering on this. I'll use the other half when I do the other LiPo pack to be able to connect it back to the board here. But again, trying to set this up so I can use an off-the-shelf LiPo battery with it. Now, I want to do the video of this, kind of go through what we've learned. When I first initially plugged this in, the board read what the old battery was. Like, it did not read the voltage on the new battery, which really kind of surprised me in a way. So it's like it has a memory. So here it's 14.5. I did try to discharge this a little bit to run the battery down, because I'm going to run this on the charger to see if it actually charges the battery or if it's changing the memory on the board, which I'm really curious to see what that does. So, again, so I've got it connected. Again, once I start plugging these in, it's going to get power to the board. Try to keep my hands out over here. So you'll see here, it'll light up once I plug these in because it's getting power to the board. It's initiating. It's saying the power is too low, which again, you're like, well, how is that possible? Because obviously it was, what, 14.8 volts. So we plug in the main battery, does the same thing. Yeah, it's letting me turn this one on this time. So it's saying it's too low, but again, it's not. You know, it's 14.8. The other one's, what, 16 when it's maxed out. So it should have enough power on it. And I'll try resetting it here. So I'll hold this down, let it flash. Turn itself off, then we'll let it. All right, so that was restarting it. So it's, I guess how it's still showing there's no, or there's like, you know, it needs to be charged. So let's go through this way. I gotta be careful because these are all, well, actually we can just do it this way. Because all of these connectors on the top are soldered together, so the positive and the negative. So it's only showing me 0.014 volts. Actually, that turned off. Let's turn it back on. So it's 0.014 volts. That's what it's showing me. That's what the board is reading off the battery, which to me is weird. It's like, it's almost like your inkjet cartridge that says you're out of ink, but then when you look at it, like, it's half full. Like, is there some kind of memory on the board or with the software in here that tells it to... Obviously, it's trying to figure that out for the your life, like how much charge is left on your battery, what the milliamps are, but that to me was a little odd. So what we'll do is... Let me plug this in. So we got our charger on here. So I'll take this again carefully because all the contacts are exposed. Grab the board by the sides. Stick it in there. Give it a second. The light's on, so it's recognizing it. So now it's charging it. I wonder if we can do this. So negative's closest to that, positive's closest to that. So I got 14.76 on this. Again, this is straight from the battery. .8 coming off the charger. So I'm going to go ahead and let this sit here and charge for a little bit. I'm actually going to take it in the other room while I'm doing some other work so I can keep an eye on it in case it has any issues. Last time I did this, I plugged the charger into it for a second. I got it to show and kind of register. So then I took it out and flew it. But the app registered 4 minutes. I think it said it was 100% charge, and it gave me 4 minutes of flight time, which it gave me 4 minutes of flight time at 100% charge, according to the app. So I want to let this sit on the charger and let it run its cycle and see if it brings the board up to match what the battery is. Again, I've done that reset. If you hold the button down, let it reset, and it doesn't seem to change what it's showing me here. I've tried that with the app. I'll show you in a few minutes with the app too. Once we kind of actually, I tell you what, we'll stop this now. Let me get the controller out. We'll plug it in and show you what it's registering right now. Then we can have the benchmark of now versus once we stick it on the charger for a little while. So let me run and grab the controller. All right, so we've got our controller and our app. Everything's turned on here. For the sake of this, I'm not going to shove the battery pack in here. It is tight to get this battery pack inside of here, and I did tape over the logos because I'm trying to I'm experimenting with the batteries right now. I don't want to have folks run out and buy a battery just in case. So I'll do some more testing, and once I kind of know that's working and see that I can, it works with the drone, that I'll let everybody know what it is. But it's a 4,000 milliamp battery. I'll say that much. It's a 4S 4,000 milliamp. So basically, I'm just trying to plug it into the board as if it was the original battery pack. But again, this is really tight to get in here, and I have to kind of wiggle it and pull it out. So for this experiment, or this, what we're going to demonstrate is, we're just going to set it on the table here. I'll plug this in. All right, so go ahead and turn this on. Try to turn this on. So as you can see, it's initiating. It's showing it's there's no bars, no lights. We'll see what the app shows here in a second. Once it connects.
Critically low battery.
So it's showing me there's no battery, no minutes, no percentage, which is, again, I would say odd because of the fact that when we check out the voltmeter, it shows it's, what would you say, it's like 14.8. So to me, that's a curiosity in the software or something with the board. I'm like, why? Unless it's a memory issue. Because again, like when I did this the first time, this original battery pack had like 4 minutes of flight time with it when it was charged. So when I plugged this battery in and flew it for the first time, it gave me 4 minutes of flight, and then now it's doing this. So I charged the battery outside of having it connected to the board. I've charged it off the actual, like a normal LiPo charger. So I want to take it and experiment with it, putting this on the Autel charger, letting it sit and cycle and see if it resets the board or helps clear the memory in the board. And then we're going to kind of go from there. So again, we'll power this down. Turn everything off here. All right, and then we'll kind of carefully put our fingers in the back here and kind of wiggle the board. Get that back out. And like I was kind of showing a second ago, plug. So we've got the green light on, all the fun stuff on the desk here. So the green light's on the battery, or on the charger. So again, we'll leave the battery pack here charging. I'll plug it in, we'll give it a second. Again, you have to start being cautious when all the wires are exposed, because you can potentially break a wire, bend a wire. So as you see, it's charging, or it's showing that it's charging. Again, from no bars up into the 4 bars, 4 lights. So again, I'm going to leave this sit for a little while. We're going to come back and periodically check on it, see how it's doing, and then cross our fingers that it's just balancing the battery between the board, which I think is what I did the first time, but again, only gave me about 4 minutes. So again, I'm curious if it's like an inkjet cartridge, like I was kind of joking with, does it have a memory in it, or it's pre-programmed to only run a certain time or a certain amount of time. That would be intriguing and really frustrating if that was the case. If for some reason that, with a lot of technology with phones and things nowadays, that they put something in the coding that it basically degrades itself over time, or says it's not as good as it used to be, even though it may still be as good as it is. So, all right. So once again, we'll let this sit here and charge. We'll come back and check on it a little bit later and see how it's doing. All right, so we're back here to see how the charging went. I noticed earlier in the video when I was charging it, I had to double check when these charge. If the light comes on when it's charging, or if it's just the line, the LEDs themselves are just kind of, pulsating and running. I let it charge for about an hour. I was watching the voltage on it. I checked a couple times. It's up to 16.8 right now, which is what the other pack's power at. It was still, lights were still running. I had this in the room I was watching just to make sure nothing happened to the pack. And I noticed the lights were not staying solid, so I turned the pack on. And when I did that, I plugged it back in, and then it started doing the charging, but then the lights all of a sudden reset on it. So I'm really curious now if we plug this in, we check with the app that maybe it reset the board, or reset the chip in there. So we're going to plug it in and see what it shows on the app. So again, let's see, we'll talk more through this in a second. Board goes that way. I don't know if you can plug it in upside down, but all right, so I got that plugged in. Do that so you can see the lights. All right, 4 lights on the battery. So we're hoping that the estimated time and the estimated power in the battery pack shows up something higher than what it had before. When I first tried this, I got like 4 minutes at 100%, and it did only fly 4 minutes, and then it said the battery. Okay, so that's the same thing it's showing right now. So a full charge battery pack, it's showing me it's only got 4 minutes of flight time at 100%. So that really is intriguing to me. That again, to me, I'm assuming there's something with in the software on the board, but we'll go ahead and fly this. We'll try it out and see how it does. I'll grab the voltmeter here in a second. We'll put on the meter and show you what the battery is reading. So again, there's something I'm assuming with the algorithm inside of here. Again, that's why I'm trying to experiment with it and figure out how we can get this reset. Maybe it's something in the code, like we can. I'm not a computer guy. Look at the recent update on it and see if maybe there's something in there that'll help. We can tweak something that'll allow it to reread the battery pack. I don't know if you can reset it in the drone like that. So we'll try this real quick. If you hold it down outside of the pack, you can reset the
app disconnected.
See if it is any different. Because again, to me, I kind of joked earlier, it's like the whole printer inkjet or printer cartridges with the ink that they're programmed to say they're out of ink, even though they still have ink in them, based off the number of pages that were printed. We're still looking the same. So it's showing we have 16.69 volts, current 900 milliamps. It's kind of fluctuating a little bit. So our battery level is 964. Our total capacity is 984. Again, it's got 20% battery life on it, which it's a brand new battery. It's a 4S battery, 4,000 milliamps. The battery voltage is great across the whole thing. So it's got the old serial number for the old battery pack on it. So that's the other interesting thing that not here about on the case. So 872. So 872. So it's, again, the serial number off the case is what's on the board. It says it's been charged 68 times, so there is some memory, it seems like, on this. No issues. The only thing I can assume is flying it multiple times to try to get it to reset it. But again, like we're saying, we flew it the first time with it. Same thing. It said it was 4 minutes, 100%, and it gave me 4 minutes of flight time. So now my camera's showing up. So again, this intrigues me. I'm curious if I actually was able to, if I do swap out
low battery
to the new battery pack if it's going to do the same kind of thing. So now it's giving me a low battery warning that, you know, it's not. It's implied that, you know, it's thinking it has a low battery even though it's not. So I don't know. Again, this is, I won't say conspiracy theory, but kind of an intriguing thing that I wonder if, again, something in the board is not registering, whether it be the software that's on the board or what have you. So again, not an expert in this, but this is where I'm at so far. I'm trying a battery pack with it. Again, brand new 4S LiPo, 4,000 milliamp battery. So, all right, let me grab the voltmeter. Again, I'll show you the power real quick, and we'll be done. So pulling out the voltmeter, we checked with the battery, and the battery has 16.8 volts on the battery. So it's a fully charged battery, even though, again, the board's not recognizing what the power was on it. So I believe if we fly the drone a few times, let it drain the battery down, and again, drain it, charge it, kind of cycle it a few times, it'll help bring the board up to speed in terms of what the battery is. So hopefully that helps on this one. Again, we'll be doing some test flights soon, show the videos of that, and keep informing you on what we're learning. Thanks for joining.